You guys, this has turned into not a weekly vlog, but we are going to be doing a spoilery vlog of House of Flame and Shadow. Today is Wednesday, the 31st of January, and I wasn't going to do a spoilery vlog. I was going to do my normal vlog. But you guys, I got things I got to say. Everyone, welcome to this week's vlog that's going to be kind of different because, like I said in the introduction, I wasn't planning on doing a spoilery vlog. I was just going to do my normal vlog. Guys, I have things I need to say, and this is going to be very spoilery, so please do not watch this if you want to be if you don't want to be spoiled for House of Flame and Shadow. But before we get into this week's vlog, make sure that you like and subscribe. Check my description box below for all of my links to my Goodreads, my Instagram, my Pango Books account, also my Patreon, so you can get on my Patreon there and get all exclusive content, sprints, and our book club that we have going. And let's just get into the video. So I basically I'm listening to it on audio because I'm listening to it at work, and I wish I had one of those fancy things to put on my car, but I don't, so I digress. I've been listening to it at work because I need to get through this book as quick as possible. I have waited so long, just like everybody else, and I am maybe 3.5 hours in, and I have theories already. I have thoughts. I mean, this book started off with a bang, right? I mean, we're in Prithian. We are with Rhysand and the gang, and they are like trying to figure out what Bryce is doing there. And of course they lock Bryce up, and so Bryce is like, I'm not going to give them as much information as they want. I'm just going to give them what they can handle and keep my secrets to myself, which I don't blame you, Bryce. But then you also have Rune and Hunt, which are still in the dungeon back with the Asteri and the Hound and all of them. So it's wild, okay? What Rune and Hunt are going through is gut-wrenching. It has me just kind of like on the edge of my seat being like, oh no, what's gonna happen? But then Bryce, she is really showing herself and showing how independent she is, how she's trying to get out of the situation she's in. But here's something that I was thinking about. The way that one of the chapters just happened with her and Azriel talking, I think. And we're getting a lot more Azriel, and I'm loving that. We need more of Azriel, because even though he was a part of the A Court of Thorns and Roses series, you didn't get a whole lot of him. And I'm happy that he is kind of taking a front row to this book. I'm so happy for that. And I really feel like you need to read the A Court of Thorns and Roses series and the A Court of Silver Flames, because Nesta currently is playing a big role as well. So, I'm pretty excited for that. But the way that Azriel and Bryce were just interacting kind of gave me these feelings of, are they gonna grow close together? Is she gonna are they gonna fall in love and there's gonna be like this threesome going on with Azriel, Hunt, and Bryce? Like, what is gonna happen? Because I'm just getting those vibes, you guys. I'm just getting those vibes. But the other vibe that I'm getting is if it doesn't go that route and Sarah J. Maas is going to go on a different route, here's my theory. Like I said, I'm only 3.5 hours in, so this could be entirely off. But over in Lunathian, the Fae actually get to choose who their mates are, right? So she chose Hunt. And that's kind of how they do it. It's not like the Prithian Fae where like you see them and you're like, oh, you're my mate. So I'm wondering, because everyone's wondering about Elaine, right? And there's been theories about Elaine actually being Tamlin's mate because of like the spring court and like the flowers and all of this stuff, and she loves gardening, which I'm all for that, sure. But then other people are like, you know, maybe her and Asriel are going to be together, and that could be a huge contender because Asriel, we don't know much about our boy. I mean, we know some, but not a lot. But what if Elaine goes on the whole thing of, I want to choose my mate, like the Lunathian Fae do. So then she chooses to be with Asriel. Hey, I'm just saying, these are theories. I'm just saying that this story, it's not the greatest starting out. I get it. We're getting back into this world. We're setting up where we're going to be going next. I feel like there's a whole lot of building and not a lot of like action. So I'm hoping that changes. I mean, granted, I still have like 16 hours of this audiobook to go. So there's going to be a lot that's going to change, right? So I don't know how this is going to go. You guys are going to come along with me. I've already said the theories that I have currently. There's probably going to be more. And then there's probably going to be a lot of them that are not going to be answered. But I really feel like something is going to happen with the whole mates thing with Elaine, because the next A Court of Thorns and Roses book is being written right now. So why did Sarah decide to write A Court of Silver Flames and then House of Sky and Breath, and then instead of going back to the ACOTAR world, she wrote House of Flame and Shadow, and now she's writing the 6th book in the ACOTAR series? You guys got to think about that. I think that a lot of these Elaine theories are going to start coming to light. And I'm all here for it. I mean, we're probably not going to get any answers on the whole Asriel thing this book, but makes you wonder, right? So come along with me this week. Totally filled with spoilers. I can't wait to share my experience with you guys and create this unique vlog. So let's just get into it. It is Wednesday. I am on lunch currently, sitting in my car. I'm going to be listening to more about this, and I will update you guys whenever I have more thoughts. There's been more progression into the story, and we'll just see where this book goes. Okay, guys, I'm back in my car. I know. I am sitting here at BioLife because my husband donates plasma. I have listened to probably like an hour and a half, maybe, actually probably an hour and a half more of the book. And I'm going to tell you what, I just got done with a chapter that, and I'm not even going to tell you what chapter, but it just gave us so many answers. Oh my goodness. Jaw on the floor. I'm not going to give away what those answers are because I want you to experience it. However, I have theories again. I have more theories. I think that in this book, we're going to at least talk about Terrasen, or we are going to have the Throne of Glass characters be a part of the story. Like, they're going to end up in like Prithian or Midgard, or we're gonna go to Terrasen. I don't know, guys. I don't know how it's gonna happen, but that's my theory, because what we just learned, what was just told to us, Sarah literally just like took the book and dropped it all on us, like everything. It's so eye-opening. Like I can't. I'm loving this book, you guys. I'm staying away from social media, so I don't know how other people are receiving this right now, but I can say I am way more invested in what Bryce is doing and what she's finding out in her story over in Prithian, where I am less interested in what is going on in Midgard with Hunt and Rune and everybody else, because you have Hunt, Rune, and what is it, Vaxian, that's in the dungeon at the moment. And you have Lydia, the Hind, who is still wearing this mask like she's like this evil force. And Rune is mad at her but she's trying to like save them, I guess, and she's trying to rally forces, but I think she's about to get caught because who was it that came? Someone came and told her that basically Rigelus was able to save the harpy, and if the harpy talks and says, nope, it was the hind that got me, not Bryce, I mean, things are about to go bad news bears with this. Like, I mean, I'm a little intrigued with it, but I'm not as much intrigued as what Bryce is going through right now. And this may change later on. Like, Hunt and Rune and Lydia and all of them may start going through things that I'm interested in. But right now, I want to know what's going on. I want to know the answers that Bryce just got. I'm blown away. I'm speechless at the chapter I just got done with. Like, I was listening to it in my car to go pick up my husband, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, babe, I'm halfway through this chapter. I gotta keep listening. So while I'm driving him across town to go donate plasma, I'm just sitting there like in awe. Like, I'm not even thinking about what's going on. Like, the only thing I'm doing is watching the road. So I don't want anyone to really put spoilers in the comments because, you know, if somebody just clicks on this video and they find out it's spoilery, then they'll click off. But I don't want them to see the comments. But let me know, have you started reading House of Flame and Shadow at this moment? Where I'm at, I'm not even going to tell you where I'm going to start. But, because I don't want to give away that. Like, I know this is spoilery, but I still want to keep some things, like, hidden because I want people to experience what I just felt. Oh, anyway, leave me a comment below. Like, you know what chapter it is. Let me know below. Did you have the same feeling? Were you in awe? Was it just, like, groundbreaking, or did you expect it? I'm curious to know. I knew that we were going to get answers, but I didn't think it was going to be this early on in the book. So, anyway, I will come back to you guys whenever I have more updates. I don't know if I'm going to listen to it anymore tonight. I want to. So bad. The problem is, I feel like I need to take a step back, simmer with my thoughts, and just come back to it tomorrow. So I'm either going to update you later tonight or I'm going to update you tomorrow. I don't know. We're going to see. But yeah, it's a ride, you guys. It's a wild ride, and I am here for it. Guys, we got to talk. We got to talk because I am halfway through House of Flame and Shadow, and I'm liking it and I'm not liking it. So I'm really invested with Bryce's storyline. Like, the things that went down in Prithian, and now she is back in Midgard, and she is actually with her father, and he's a mean man. Okay, we don't like him. I don't think anybody likes him. However, the last few chapters that we've had with Bryce where she is with him, for whatever reason, like, I started liking the Autumn. Like, I started liking him, and I'm like, wait a second. Why do I like him? He's evil. And then, of course, you know, Bryce basically is like, hey, you know, I'm more powerful than you, bye. And so I'm really liking her story. I really am. I'm really invested with it because it's not just because she went to Prithian. What I'm really invested with is how the horn that she has is going to play a role in, you know, all of these things, and how we are going to have like this whole like mass verse thing going on. Because whenever she was in Prithian and she was getting answers, they talked about another gate opening, and the Fae that came through were from another place, and that they could shapeshift. And I'm like, obviously, that is, you know, Throne of Glass, right? That's Terracin, 100%, can't be anything else, right? But we don't get any glimpses of them. We don't get to meet them. So I'm still sticking to my theory that at some point in the last like 50% of this book, we have to either be going to Terrasen and end up there, or they end up in Midgard. Something has to happen because there's just too many breadcrumbs in this story, just way too many. And I'm going to be extremely shocked if Sarah J. Maas waits until the 4th book in the Crescent City series before she brings the Throne of Glass crew in, because I feel like book 4 would have to be the final book, right? Because there's only 4 houses in Midgard. So I would think that the 4th book would be like the ultimate book, right? Like where you have Rhysand in the Inner Circle, and then you have Rowan and Aelin and Lorcan and Alid and all of these people coming together and coming up with a plan on how they are going to defeat the Asteri. Like, in my mind, that's what I'm thinking about, right? Because I'm like, how are you going to make another book where we're traversing all of these worlds and then come out with a 5th book? Like, I don't see that happening. With as thick as these books are, with as much that's going on, I don't know. We'll just have to see, I guess, how the last like 50% go on. But Bryce, I'm really liking Bryce, because whenever we met her in House of Earth and Blood, like, she was kind of a woe is me, my best friend's dead, drinking and all of these things. But then the Bryce we have now is like fierce and ruthless, and she's coming into her own, and I'm loving it. The story that I'm not loving is Rune, Hunt, and Lydia, and that whole mess that's going on, because of course we finally got out of the dungeons. We finally get to see Lydia actually caring, and really going against everything that she has, been to free Rune and stuff. And I'm going to tell you what, Sarah J. Maas really went very grim dark in this book. And whenever you read it, you'll understand, because I don't want to tell you what happens, but it is extremely grim dark. Like, I did not expect her to go to that level, right? So that really kind of threw me off. And then on top of that, I do not care about Ethan's story right now. I do not care. I am bored with it. I am tired of it. I don't know what it is, but I am just not connected to Ethan. I don't care about his story. Right now, he's with Jessica and trying to find a necromancer and just all of these things. And I'm just like, Ethan, I really don't care. Can you just stay off page? And I don't know why. I can't really pinpoint what it is that I'm not liking about his story. But we have so many POVs going on. Of course, this is a high fantasy. That's what you expect. But there is so many different POVs. Like, in a single chapter, you are bouncing from Bryce and what she's doing, and then Ethan, and then you're going over to Lydia, and then you're going to Rune and Hunt, and then back to Bryce, and then over to Rune and Hunt. Like, in one chapter. And don't get me wrong, it's very easy to follow, but what really kind of solidified why I'm not liking that at the moment is because the things that happened in Prithian, the answers that we've got, as vague as they are, and they're not even, answering all of the questions we want at the moment, but whenever Bryce was in that moment and she was with Azriel and Nesta and learning all of these things, I did not want to jump from her to Rune and Hunt being in the dungeons. I didn't want to leave her, and we did, and I felt like the impact of the revelations that we find out, the things that she does and everything, really just kind of didn't hit for me. Like, I was in it, right? Feeling all of the emotions. My jaw was dropped. You saw my B-roll clip whenever I jumped on, and I was like, hey, I gotta talk about this. And then the next chapter, we're with Rune and Hunt. So I'm thinking, okay, we're done with all the revelations, right? But then after we are with them for a little bit, we're back with Bryce. And learning more, right? Like learning more about the Asteri and, you know, the other world that was open that clearly is the Throne of Glass world. And, you know, then I was like, okay, so then I'm starting to get back into the emotions and feel it. And then I'm ripped out of it again and we're with Ethan. And then we go back to Bryce. And I'm just like, can we stop? Like, I do not care if Rune and Hunt die at this moment. Like, I need answers. I am in this moment. I'm really wanting this, and I'm probably the only one that feels that way because I know everyone loves Rune and Hunt. I'm not a Hunt girly. I do not like Hunt. There's something about his character that I don't connect with, and I don't like their love story. That's why I'm hoping that maybe, you know, she does the whole Azriel throuple couple thing, but I digress. But yeah, I was really wanting more, I think, at this moment. I'm at the halfway point. I was wanting more, especially from the Prithian and the Inner Circle gang and stuff. I feel like we didn't spend a whole lot of time there. So in my thoughts, are we going back? Are they going to find a way now that they know? Because Azriel and Nesta heard the revelation, so are they going to find a way to open up a portal and go to Midgard? And so they're going to be in this world? I don't know. I just feel like we didn't really spend a whole lot of time there to really merge those worlds together. Because really, like, you know, we need their help to defeat the Asteri. We need Rowan and Aelin and the gang to defeat the Asteri. We need everybody, right? And it's like, how are you going to get the people from Prithian over? Are they just going to come over? I don't know. I don't know, guys. This is wild. This is a wild ride for me. A lot of mixed bag of emotions because I'm really liking certain aspects of the story and I'm really into it and I don't want to stop. And then I get yanked to other POVs that I'm not fully invested in. I don't like it. I'm not in it. Now, granted, the last 50% could change because something with that character or whatever, that storyline could come into play and like really make a big thing. But I'm just sadly not into it. So there's that. But I just wanted to hop on here because I'm at the halfway point, give my thoughts, and, you know, like I said, this is a spoiler vlog. I mean, granted, I'm not going to give you all of the spoilers because there are major things that happen in this book that I don't want to tell you about because I don't want you to miss out on the wow factor. If you haven't read it yet and you don't mind hearing about spoilers, I'm just going to keep the major revelations completely out. But like I said, I fully believe that the Throne of Glass gang is going to come into play this book somehow. I fully believe that somehow we're going to have to get Rhysand and the gang over to Midgard or whatever. This book or the beginning of next book, one of the two. And I fully believe that Azriel is going to learn about the whole choosing your mate thing. And I really think that's going to play a part in something, whether it is him being with Elaine, whether it's him being with Bryce and Hunt, whether it's being him and Moore or him and Gwen, it don't matter. I really think, because Azriel, there's things that you learn about Azriel, and that's what I love. Azriel played a huge part in the whole, like, Bryce being over in the Night Court thing. Like, he was a major character, and I loved that. And so I think that the things that we learned about Azriel and the history that we've learned and kind of those things, I think it's really going to be, he is going to choose his mate, kind of like how Bryce and Hunt did. So that's my theories at this moment. I could be entirely wrong about everything. We'll just, you know, come back whenever House of Flame and Shadow is done. We'll think about my theories, see how I still feel about them, see if any more theories have came about, but pretty excited. I can't wait to read more of this book. I hope, if you have read this book, I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, because I really feel like House of Sky and Breath was a little bit of a letdown, but I feel like House of Flame and Shadow is really starting to bring it back. So I'm excited. We don't know that girl. in the previous clip. We don't know her because I have finished this huge chunker of a book. I know that I didn't update after the 50% mark. It took me a couple days. I haven't been feeling very well to get through the last 50%, partly because I haven't been feeling good, partly because this book really went kind of downhill for me. And I'm not saying that I didn't like it, and I'm not saying that, it wasn't. I don't even know what I'm saying. Let's go through this. Again, this is going to be extremely spoilery. I don't know where in the timeline these events happened, so I'm probably going to jump around with things. But here we are with Bryce, and we are along the way. We're back in Lunathian. We are filling the gang in on what's going on, but she shows up at her father's house first. And her father, like I said in a previous clip, had that banter. She ends up with the gang, telling them everything that was going on because she locked her father up in the basement or a closet, something like that. And she's telling everyone what's going on. So now they're like, we need to do something. We need to go get the gang together again and kill the Asteri. So whenever things are happening, you have Lydia, who, aka the Hind, who helped free Rune and Hunt because she had Ophian rebels basically destroy the spine of Lunathian or Crescent City or whatever. And that really weakened the Asteri with their forces. So they make it. We find out Lydia has 2 sons, and we find out that they're not from, I can't even think of his name again. But anyway, it was about a ritual that she had done years and years ago when she was still, like, with her family. Like, her mom wanted her to go through this, like, fertility ritual or pregnancy ritual or something. Anyway, she has 2 sons, and she gets to meet them, which is a really good moment. I really enjoyed that. And I really enjoyed watching her and Rune, how they're trying to get past the mistakes that they've made. He's trying to forgive her. She's trying to forgive herself for what she put Rune through. And they end up coming back around and being together, and it's really beautiful between him and her. I ended up really loving their story, and I love their arc dynamic and everything that they do in this. So Rune, 100%. Rune is the guy in this series, hands down. But you also have Ethan. I can't stand Ethan's storyline. I really, really can't. And I do not know why. Like, he's a good character. I think he has a great story arc. I think that he has a lot to bring to the table. I'm just not invested with Ethan, and I'm struggling with that at the moment. But let's talk about Ethan. So Ethan, of course, has Last Fender heir, and he is telling, who is it? The Viper Queen, I think, to release Therian from, her clutches and stuff, because they need to go and help Bryce, right? Like, they need to get away. They need to be with the gang. Well, he says, okay, pup, you need to fight, and if you win, I will release Therian. So, Ariadne. So Therian and Ariadne were the ones that were going to be let go. Everyone assumed that he was going to be fighting Ariadne. So whenever they're getting ready for everything to happen, I'm not going to hold this book up. It is so chunker. You know what book I'm reading. Whenever they are preparing to fight with Ariadne, they learn her moves. They know what she's about, all of this stuff. Whenever the time comes, it's only the Viper Queen that is going to be watching the fight. She then tells everybody, oh, by the way, I sold Ariadne to somebody else, and you're going to be fighting another person. So Ethan's like, you can't sell her. She's not a slave. And we go down that whole rabbit hole. And she said, no, she was willing to go because it benefited her. So Ethan's like, well, who am I fighting? Who does he fight? The last Fendir heir. And come to find out, it's a fight to the death. So Ethan is trying not to kill her, but she is trying to kill him, right? So things get wild and out of hand, and he ends up killing her. So he panics. He steals her body and is like, hey, we're going to try to go get her back. So him, Therian, the dead Fendir heir, go to Hypaxia, and he's like, Jessica. He goes to Jessica, and he's like, listen, I need a necromancer. I need to resurrect her, yada, yada. We need to work fast. So now Jessica uses that to her advantage, and she's like, you can do XYZ for me, and then I'll get you a necromancer. And Ethan's like, we don't have enough time for that. Well, anyway, in comes Hypaxia. And we find out Hypaxia has been ousted from her clan. She's no longer the witch queen, all of these things. And of course, Jessica's like, oh, the necromancer that I was thinking about. So anyway, she ends up going down this rabbit hole, okay, of trying to find a cure because Bryce found out that there is a parasite in the water, and that is what is weakening everybody, which is then in turn making them take the drop, which then in turn feeds the Asteri. Okay, that's the gist of that. So Hypaxia is trying to find a cure. She does find a cure. She then tries to bring the girl back to life, and she doesn't. She's a reaper. So now Ethan's like, I'm in a world of, you can fill that in. So now he's panicking because he's trying to make things right. Let's jump on over to everybody else. You have, and I'm not going to remember all the mini storylines that are going on in here because there is so much. But let's talk about Bryce, okay? There was so much that Bryce did in this that I absolutely loved. I was living for her story. I was living for her arc. I was living for everything that she did. Because whenever she got back, she put plans in motion. She was like, no, we are going to get free of the Asteri. We are going to do this and we're going to do that. Like, she is a woman on a mission. And I absolutely loved that. I think that's why I loved Bryce's point of view so much, because I was like, okay, we're getting somewhere. She's doing this. She's doing that. She's not running errands. She's not trying to bring people back to life. She's like, we are going to destroy the Asteri. And she ends up going to Avalon, I think, and ends up talking to the king there because she's like, why have the Asteri not came to Avalon, right? Like, how come they haven't tried? Why are you so protected? I need to know. So she takes the whole gang to Avalon. They're trying to find out things. So then, of course, the Avalon king is like, no, women are not allowed to go to libraries. Women are not allowed to go off on their own without their husband or without, some male presence. And I'm like, wow, they really live in the old days, don't they? However, Bryce ends up making two teams. One team is going to the archives to look through the documents and try to find how to defeat the Asteri or anything that connects them to that. And then Bryce is on the questing part. She is with, I don't even remember who all she's with, but I know Hunt's with her. And they're going through, they find the tomb of Pelios, and they find all this black salt. So then she's like, oh, she must have used the black salt to summon the princes of hell. They move his casket. They find out that you can go down, I think is how it goes. I got a little lost about this. Anyway, we're traipsing. We're figuring things out. And all of a sudden, here comes the Avalon king and, of course, her father. And they are there to fight. They're there to take Bryce down, kind of cut everybody off, all of this stuff. And lo and behold, both of the kings get killed, and now Bryce is the queen of the Avalon and the Van Baren Fae. I can't say those names, you guys. She's Fae of those two people, okay? And her and Hunt, there is something about her and Hunt that I don't like. I don't feel their romance. I honestly felt more romance in the brief amount of time that we had Azriel on page with Bryce. I felt more romance and more connection between them two than I have felt ever for Bryce and Hunt. I do not feel their connection. I don't feel like they're mates. They fight a lot. They're, not compatible. You see that throughout this whole book. And it's like, why is she still with him? Why is she calling him her mate and her husband? I'm like, girl, do you not see? Like, you guys have no compatibility. You guys are arguing every other chapter. You guys are ignoring each other or going against the other person's wishes. And I'm like, that's not healthy. Yeah, do couples have arguments? Sure. But not this frequently and not at this magnitude is what I was trying to say. There is so much. She ends up going to the Northern Rift because she talks to the Princes of Hell, finds out that, hey, not only was Hunt's mother an angel, but he has two daddies, and that is two of the Princes of Hell. And it's Thanatos and Apollyon are his two fathers. It's weird. I know. Anyway, somehow all three of them created Hunt, and, he got answers about his father. He got answers about all of this. Bryce has a lot of her answers. She ends up, the Asteri start taking war on Crescent City to kind of lure Bryce and her gang out. And the Asphodel Meadows, it gets completely slaughtered. So she does everything she can. She tells everybody, reach out to your family, bring them here. Everybody will have safe passage. So she gets her mom and Randall and, of course, Connor, a.k.a. Emil. And they get there. So does June and Fury. Everybody gets there that we care about at the moment. And she ends up saying, okay, we're going to the Northern Rift. We're going to be opening it up. I need my mom and Randall to go with me because Randall, I need his expertise on things. And we're starting to gear up for war. Like, the Asteri knows it's coming. We know it's coming. And they open the Northern Rift, and instead of it being hell and letting hell through, it's actually a portal into Nesta's home back in Prithian. And of course, Nesta was betrayed by Bryce and all this stuff. And she's like, what are you doing? And so basically Bryce is trying to ask her for the mask because she needs the mask to go along with the horn and the two, like the Star Sword and Truth Teller. She needs all of that in hopes that it'll be enough to kill the Asteri. And Nesta's like, no, no, you're not getting that. Rhysand's going to be here any minute and he's going to destroy you and all of these things. And basically, Bryce was like, I'll give you collateral. I'll give you my mom and Randall. Now, she's speaking in a different language, so Randall and her mom have no idea what's going on. And Nesta's like, I don't need collateral, you're not going to get that. And then finally Bryce starts crying and she's like, will you just take my parents anyway, even though you're not going to give me the mask? And Nesta's like, what if you die? And she's like, at least they'll be there and they'll be safe. And Nesta sees that and she's like, take the mask, win the war, and you can borrow it. So she gets the mask and she has Hunt push her parents over to Prithian, and she's like, they're never gonna forgive me. And here we go. You guys, this thing, Therion's married now. He goes to the Viper Queen to ask the Blue Court for help. You have Lydia and Rune on a mission to get something. I don't know. There is just so much that goes on. And let me get to my final thoughts, okay? this was a jumbled mess, I feel like, because I feel like Sarah was trying to put a whole lot of things into this book, and there was just too much. There was just too much. Like, I'm even just sitting here thinking about things that happened with Hypaxia and the Underking. You have Ethan now being the Prime. You have all of these things happening, and whenever you're reading a chapter that's maybe, let's say, 15 pages long, and you're trying to fit in 4 or 5 storylines, like, you're not able to get into the story. You're not able to submerge yourself. And this is where the downfall is. I gave this book 3 stars. Not my favorite in this whole series. I think it's the lowest in the whole series. None of my theories at all came true. We talked a lot off and on from different characters' POVs about shape-shifting fae, which we know is the gang from Terrasen and that whole world, but nothing came to light of that. We don't talk about it. We don't address it. They don't come into play. You have things going on in Lunathian, but the people in Prithian don't even come to help. Like, part of me is like, why did you introduce the Prithian fae whenever you're going to do nothing with them? Like, all we did was spend time in Prithian, like, in a jail where they're like, tell us why you're here, Bryce. And she doesn't. And then she uses some voodoo powers that come to her. She teleports out, finds, where the Dusk Court used to reside, gets this basically, like, holographic telegram, that tells about the whole story of what happened, and then she's out of Prithian. And then the only other thing that happens is, like, she asks Nesta for the mask. And that was it. So why did you introduce Prithian? I feel like if you were going to do this whole Massverse that is happening, why didn't you create where the Fae in Prithian would play a bigger role, and that you would bring in the Fae from Terrasen, and maybe even other worlds, that other people are from? And why wouldn't you make this like a huge thing? Why is it that you dangled this, this little thing in our face at the end of House of Sky and Breath, where it's like, hello, Bryce, I am Rhysand, and we all were like, oh my gosh, all freaking out. And then, for one, you don't even see Rhysand hardly. You don't see Feyre. You don't see Elaine. You don't see nobody, which is fine. I understand that this is Bryce's story. I'm cool with that. But all you see is Azriel and Nesta. Cassian doesn't really play a role at all. No one plays a role. They go traipsing around the dungeon of like all of these like evil creatures, and you find out that they are like beings from the Asteri. And you spend like a few chapters in Prithian, and then now we're back in Lunathian for the whole entire story. I just didn't see why we needed that at this moment. Like, we could have found the backstory a little bit, and then Bryce want to try to figure out how to open up a portal and go to that world and actually spend time there and get answers there and kind of rally the troops there. And then, she gets some information from like Prithian maybe about the shape-shifting Fae. So now she wants to open a portal there, and she spends time there rallying the troops. And then she comes back to Midgard and she's like, all right, we got a plan. But that didn't happen. Like, it was kind of a jumbled mess. So I gave it 3 stars, you guys. I'm sorry. I know that there are people that are going to be like, how in the world could you give it 3 stars? It was so good. Listen, for some reason, I just could not stay in the story. I couldn't sit there and be like, okay, we're on Bryce's story and be focused, and then all of a sudden we're on Therian, and then we're back with Bryce, but then we switch to Lydia, and there were some points where I'm like, whose story are we talking about at the moment? because there was just so much. We're bouncing around left and right, and I don't know. I am going to be rereading it. I'm going to give myself some time, kind of sit with my thoughts, talk to some friends, see what they think. And probably in about a month or so, I am going to go back and I am going to reread it. Knowing now what I know, maybe things will get pieced together a little bit easier for me, and maybe I'll be able to focus more on different things because I'm not having that wow factor of like everything that Bryce is finding out, and I'm so intrigued with that I don't care about the other characters. Anyway, I'm glad that you guys came along with me. I got my Barnes & Noble edition in, and I got the digital signature one, which I was so happy about. I know that Sarah was out and about the day of release and the day after in New York at some of the bookstores, and she did sign a bunch of books, which I think is amazing because I know that she has problems with her hands. But for her to do that for people was just beautiful. I was like, Sarah, you are such a good soul. And, of course, as much as I would want my copy hand-signed, I'm okay just having this beautiful edition. It's just a standard edition, nothing fancy, but just having it in my hands, it just means the world. I will always forever be one of Sarah J. Maas's hugest fans among the millions of others, but I feel like this was a little bit of a letdown, more than the House of Sky and Breath. So I'm really sad about that. I think that I'm just an ACOTAR girly. I think I just love them so much, and I think I love the Throne of Glass characters so much that these characters are falling flat for me, and I don't know why. But definitely leave me your comments below. I hope you've read this if you've been watching this. But, without giving any spoilers away, do you agree with anything that I'm saying? I do have my email in the description box below and my Instagram. So if you would like to message me on either one of those platforms, definitely do so. We can talk. You can tell me that I am absolutely insane and how can I feel that way? And I would say that, you're justified because I don't understand why this book was lacking for me. So definitely hit me up if you want to talk spoilery thoughts. But thank you for joining me with this unique vlog that I've never done before. So I hope it was interesting. And I will see you all next time. Bye!